the Retro Game Gauntlet Reviewcast, where we play video games for about a week, randomly decided for us, and then we talk about them. I'm Torzvik, and I'm here with Septopus.
What do the cow tools actually do, though?
Well, one was a saw, one was a hammer.
What was it?
One was either a stick or a... Okay, the stick is either a rake or a bad gopher grabber. And there's a baseball hat. Anyway, so we went back to Super Nintendo. I think Super Nintendo has been our worst one for both of us. Have we gotten anything good on Super Nintendo?
I certainly didn't. I got RoboCop 3 in his fat ass, and I got Family Dog.
Shit, Family Dog. What did I get when you did Family Dog?
You were doing pinball during RoboCop, right?
Yeah, and that was a shit fest. That was no good. Because when you played Family Dog, it didn't matter what I was playing.
Family Dog was the show stealer.
Oh no, I remember. I did that Koei strategy game. I did Liberty or Death.
Liberty or Death.
Yeah, which that's an alright game. It definitely isn't designed for the Super Nintendo. I would have rather played it on DOS. The game itself is fine, but playing on Super Nintendo, not an optimal choice. But I got a good game this time. I don't know about you, but I got a good game. I was very pleased with my game. I got Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin for the Super Nintendo. Mind you, I decided to check it up because I wasn't sure. I know that there's a Genesis and a Super Nintendo one. They are like completely different.
That's where the school arguments were about, was who had the better one, the better Aladdin game.
The school arguments. You grew up on who had the better Aladdin.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's where blood was spilled.
It wasn't over the Lion King game and the fact that the Super Nintendo one has one more level than the Genesis one.
Ooh, that's rough.
But here's the counter to it. But it's using mode 7, the extra level. Who's the winner and who's the loser?
Look, it's either you reach a crossroads and your choices are either you get that extra Lion King level, but you don't get blood in Mortal Kombat. Even though that one technically ran better than the Genesis one. It did not have the blood. That was important.
Yeah, you couldn't even use your cool parent code to unlock it. But I think when the other Mortal Kombat, like 3 came out, I think that one actually had the full blood in it. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I'll double check that. I'll fact check that, and I'll put a cool annotation right over the video. And I'll say whether or not I was right.
You do know that'll only work on the YouTube upload. If you ever upload it anywhere else, the annotation won't be there.
Dude, uploading this anywhere else costs money. Like, full stop. Hey, cool listeners, send in all the sweet dosh, and we'll get a SoundCloud rolling for you. Or the other place that's free would be iTunes, but they actually listen to your podcast.
Oh God! don't do that. Well, you know what? Because since our podcasts run long enough, they'll probably fall asleep within the first half, and then during then we'll just like shitpost.
All right, but to video games. So the Aladdin compared to the Genesis one is a lot more of a standard like side-scrolling where you fight guys. I don't know exactly what you would call this kind of platformer, but more like the what's it called, like Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, where there's like wall climbing and you do cool flips. Everything is about cool flips in this game. Like, you can't do anything. You know, you got your Mario game and you jump on a guy's head, right? You hold down the A button, you jump higher. Well, in this game, you don't jump on people's heads. You do sick handsprings off of everyone's head. And that is like your main mode of transportation is doing handsprings off of everything and then cool flips from like hanging beams. So it's kind of a action run around climby things platformer. Give me what I would have really thought would have been cool.
What specific language? that genre term really nails it. Climbing around action platforming thing. No, what I was gonna say is, I would say from what you described, what maybe a good description is I would say Mario is sort of like precision platforming, and Sonic's speed. I would say the Aladdin one is a more like Donkey Kong, where you're not necessarily going fast, but it is about keeping like your forward momentum going.
No, not even about forward momentum, because it moves a lot of up and down, and because Donkey Kong works a lot of that like that natural reflex of like, you know, they stick those bananas all over the place so that you know like the right angle to jump at, and you land on the platform that's well off the screen. This just has like a whole lot of flipping. Like seeing enemies ain't even like that big of a deal. Health almost never is a problem in this game. Only like the very last level do they even put enough enemies where you kind of go, oh, I might run out of health in this fight. Furthermore, they don't have a lot of tacked-in, boss fights.
Well, I don't remember there being very many boss fights in the movie.
Well, that's what I'm on about. That's why I use specifically tacked on. As far as boss fights go, there's one, very beginning, first opening level is Agrabah, where you just go through the town. It's done in sort of a worlds and acts style, where it's like you got World 1 and it's got like 3 or so acts. It doesn't have like a strict formula. You go through there and you just do like a lot of swinging off of tops of buildings and stuff like that. And you got a few of the guards. And at the end you have like the one guard that like caught the princess like stealing apples or whatever. I don't remember exactly what happened. I think she was taking apples and she didn't realize that she had to pay for them or something like that. And I think Aladdin like pushes his hat down on his head or something and they run away.
You mean you didn't watch the movie for research?
Honestly, I thought I would just remember it well enough. So instead you just do sick handsprings off of his head like 3 times. And then you go off. After it does like the Agrabah thing, you then do inside of a cave where you're going through like the what was it called, like the Cave of Wonders or whatever.
Yeah, with the lion.
Yeah.
It's the fucking spooky CG lion whose face just fucking melts. And when I'm like 4 years old, I'm like, what the fuck?
You know, I'm gonna have to hold it against you since you came on me about not doing research for my game. Did you do the research for your game?
Ooh, no. And let me tell you, I probably should have. but I'll hold off on that.
All right. Okay, so it's got a really good scale for increasing difficulty. When going through Agrabah, as you would expect, there were no sudden death pits in just like the open city. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a lot of, you get to the top of a building to get over it, and then you get to the other side. Not a lot of strong threat. The only thing that might happen is if you just bump into guys enough times from not doing the platforming well enough. But you get into the cave, and now it's got some actual, like, proper hazards. It's got some bottomless pits. It's got some spike pits to fall into. And it kind of really works on your, like, I guess you could call this maybe precision platforming, but with cool flips. What I would have really liked to have seen, since it's kind of in the same aesthetic and all, was if this was done, like, with that really, like, chunky rotoscope, Prince of Persia style. Mm-hmm. But, it runs as good as it does. And I think a Prince of Persia game for Aladdin would be a little too frustrating in its difficulty. I mean, to be fair, this is aiming at a generally younger audience, and Prince of Persia is not exactly an easy game. Not to say that this is an easy game. This game, here's the thing, if you're going to play this one, there is challenge to it. It builds up to a proper amount of challenge. It's got a really good difficulty curve. The first 2 sections of the cave are pretty basic, just increasing in difficulty, increasing the number of pits, flipping off of stalactites, and doing handsprings off the stalagmites in good precision until you make it to the end. Then Apu touches the red gem, and everything goes to shit. And it does the I can't think of a game that does this off the top of my head, but it's a common trope where the entire level has like a rising and lowering floor that, the floor is made of lava sort of thing. So you make progress, and then you flip up to the highest area you can, and you wait for the lava to sink back down, make progress again, and you continue on until you get to the end. I don't know, can you think of something off the top of your head that uses that mechanic?
I was gonna say, because this is like, I think it was it the Genesis one where you're on the magic carpet and you're making a getaway from the lava, or is it also?
It's in both.
Okay, it's in both.
Yeah, the Genesis one does it a little bit more Battletoad style, It's like
up and down to dodge the
it gives you it's really fast where it says something's coming here and then you move up, something's coming here, move down. Whereas this one, it's a little bit more zoomed out, so it doesn't have the warning, here comes object on top part of the screen. And it's a little more it feels like helicopter game where you have to move through a thin tunnel as it zigzags up and down.
Because I remember it, and it might have been the Genesis version though, but I remember it being a specific run killer during the Awesome Games Done Quick.
It might be in both. I imagine the Super Nintendo was more of a run killer because it is a little bit more reflex action. The Genesis one, I haven't played it, but just from previewing it, did do my research. It once again, it does the Battletoads flashing object up ahead, move down. So it gives you more warning. I don't know. Find out. I mean, what I will say is that this game is obviously, when you play it, because of its, smooth, strong, and very precise control. You feel like you have a lot of control over Aladdin as you play it. Makes probably for a great speed run, especially with, doing handsprings off of things and keeping good momentum and good timing. And furthermore, there is a run mechanic. I first played this, your standard Mario style where you hold B the whole game just to keep that running momentum. This game, you only want to be running. You can pretty much, I'd say, beat the whole thing without running once. But if you want to do it quickly and get the cool secret items, you have to be running through the whole thing. And you slide like a fucking crazy person if you're running. If you're running and you see a cliff, you're probably not going to be able to turn around in time. You have to just be ready to keep going if you're running. Especially in the next section, where the platforms start getting really tight and a lot more precise. This is a very difficult section. It is the the inside the lamp section. So it's, I guess it's a level based off of the song and dance number by Robin Williams. I'm guessing we need another level in this video game. Let's find the one thing that basically lets us do whatever we want. Yeah.
The genie part.
This by far is at least casually, probably the most difficult section, because the section is filled completely just with empty bottom space where you have to flip from balloons with Genie's face on them to balloon with Genie's face on it. It was actually really... as you can probably imagine, it's got Genie's face all over all the objects and platforms, and he reacts based on things that you're doing. So the most obvious is, when you're standing on a platform with his face, it changes the face he's making, kind of looks up at you and does stuff like that. And he just gets this amazing look of disappointment when you fall off the stage. And you got all these platforms with his face on it, and they just all have this look of sheer disappointment. There's also a section within the inside the lamp level where Genie sort of leads you along by creating platforms for you. Mm-hmm. And depending on how many lives you have, depends on the difficulty of the section. And even... I had one of those experiences where you go through a section of the game and you nail it every time. And then as soon as you figure out what you gotta do after it, you can't do the section before it. Do you know what I'm on about?
Yeah, repeat that one more time.
Where you can do a section no problem, and then you go back to it later, and then you can't ever do it again, and you don't know what it is you're doing different.
I always suspect when that issue comes up is that you basically, since it became second nature, when you do it second nature, try and recreate it, you're have a half-second delay, so it compounds, so then you lose.
It compounds, and then you lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, specifically, there's one flip off of a ring, and it's I think I had to be holding down the run button and do a flip in a certain way, and it didn't accept my diagonal pushes very well. I don't know if it's just the controller or if it's the game itself, but it didn't like me pushing up and right, at least when flipping off things. You continue on through the Genie level. Something about this is I sometimes felt that it needed to have more, or sometimes at all, checkpoints. Mm. It had that problem, not where you go through a section and it was really difficult, and you hit another section, it's like, shit, I have to do like 2 incredibly difficult sections. It's more that you would have a really easy section and then a really difficult section, and you would end up having to redo the easy section over and over, and I end up losing lives because it's become so like routine and so simple that I just get lazy and I just want to try and dash through the whole thing to get to the actual difficult part. But then in my impatience, I end up running off of cliffs or just mistiming things. After that, you get a short bonus section where it plays, what's that song? A Brand New World. No, it plays, A Whole New World as you fly on the carpet and you collect gems for bonuses. And then it has the real, like, if you thought that the inside the lamp was like a stretch for what, you could put in the game. And then we have the inside the ancient pyramid level.
I was going to say, it's the, while Aladdin was drowning underwater, he has a dream.
So, okay, where vaguely would you say Agrabah is on the world map?
The desert.
I know, but
there.
I mean, maybe in like a what's it called? Like a Byzantine area or something.
I was gonna say like the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah.
Not North Africa.
Well, that was my follow-up. How many pyramids do they have in that area? I think minimal. But yeah, there's some
tombs at least.
What I will say is this level also felt like a really lazy level. It was pretty easy. It was a level that just completely flew by. When I was busting my balls on trying to get through the genie's lamp, and it's like, all right, go through the ancient pyramid. And it's like, okay, and then I did, and then I left. It was like really simple. There was minimal. I guess they were trying to mix elements where, okay, so the genie one inside the lamp, it's all just like precision platforming. There's almost nothing that can hurt you. It's all about just, can you do these flips? And then the level before that was inside the cave, where it was some precision platforming, but doesn't really put too many other obstacles. This is like the cave again, but now we got bad guys who are going to shoot arrows at you. So it was kind of harder, but the increased difficulty was pretty minimal. Overall, this world is pretty forgettable. And after that, we move on to like inside the palace, that's at least more appropriate. Inside the palace worries less about the sort of platforming, and it just like throws barrages of enemies at you. And these guys don't always have the easiest patterns to avoid. They are all completely avoidable, but you gotta always have like that one step ahead where, okay, I see the guy who throws the swords, I gotta immediately duck, let him throw 2 swords, then I jump over him, do a flip off of one sword, and then hit him. And then I can move on. It's, oh, there's the guy with the bow. I gotta stop, stand, let him shoot. This guy's the purple one, so he shoots twice. Then I can jump on him. And then there's the big guy with the sword, and I just ignore him. But this section, the main difficulty was just getting through enemies and having enough health. At the end of this stage, you see Jafar, and he feels kind of like a Dracula fight. He floats back and forth at the top of the room, and then he drops down his staff, and the whole point of it is he dips down just a little bit, but not quite high enough for you to jump off of his head. So instead, you gotta let him throw down his staff, which then will shoot lightning across the room, do a sick handspring off of his staff, just when he's about to dip down, so you can then do a sick handspring off of his head.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can kind of imagine, that's like a common thing for a lot of Sonic games do that, where enemy drops the platform that you will then use to get onto the enemy and attack him. And then finally we have the final boss, so 3 bosses in this entire game. So the guy in the market, Jafar, now Big Snake Jafar. I don't remember why Jafar turned into a big snake, other than did he just think it was like really cool? It was like his cool spell in the movie.
Well, I think it's a cool spell.
I didn't say it wasn't a cool spell. Just thought, shoot lightning at someone.
He's got the snake emblem on his turban. He's got the fucking snake staff. The guy fucking loves snakes.
But this boss adheres to one of the best styles of fighting bosses, which is whenever you can take an opportunity, you can hurt the boss. It doesn't hold on to like a really strict pattern where it's like, I think a really good example is the final boss, not the final boss, but the final Robotnik fight in like Sonic Adventure 1, where he shoots discs at you, and you got to use that opportunity to jump on a disc, and you wait for his pattern, hit him, and then you end up waiting another 30 seconds for the next right pattern to show up. Do you know what I'm saying? You wait for that cycle of, the right time to hit, as opposed to, say, like a Mega Man, where you can hit the Robot Master at most any time, save a few, but there's better times to hit him, and then there's right patterns to do it, and there's a little bit more thinking on your feet. He's got a handful of attacks, primarily 3. One, he, spits, eggs at you. I don't know,
wait, hold on. You're gonna have to repeat that. So he spits eggs at you like fucking Birdo.
Yeah, kinda. And they bounce around the room, and you can handspring off of those to handspring off of his head. The other thing he'll do is the entire platform that you are standing on is the giant snake, and it'll occasionally begin to do a strong wave, which will dip you into the fire if you standing on it. If you manage to jump on him at the right time so that you'll ride the peak of the wave, you can then jump off of him to land on his head and do a handspring off of him. And the final thing is he'll kind of reel back just a little bit and do a really fast quick strike at you. If you spot it in time, you can preemptively jump and try and land on his head. So really good. You get to think about how you want to do the boss, and to go back to speedrunning, it means almost every time anything happens during this fight, you get an opportunity to attack. So there's lots of optimization options here. And then, beat the boss, credits roll, Genie goes free, he puts on a goofy hat, and then it tells me that I didn't collect enough red gems, I don't get the real ending.
Ah, you suck.
So, to cover that, there's 7 total worlds, if I remember the way it's broken up. Mm-hmm. And within each one, some of the worlds are just one level long, by the way. I think you talked about riding the carpet through the tunnel full of lava. I think that counts as a world in as itself or something like that. And each one, there are 10 red gems. If you miss fucking one, not happening. You're not getting the thing. And these are not easy items to get. These are in Super Mario World, there's the secret 1-up, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the moon, you get the 3-up. It's hitting the fucking moon.
I 100%ed Super Mario World, did all the special stages and everything, never saw a single moon. Didn't even know the moon existed until years after the fact.
I've only found on my own 1 moon, and it was just dicking around with the cape, and it's oh shit, moon over here. What the fuck is this?
I think there's one spot in the game where the moon is visible as a static object.
Yeah,
but I can't remember now. It's been too long since I touched it, really. So.
But yeah, some of these gems, they either hide them so well, or in the case of, I talked about, there's the bonus level where you do the magic carpet ride. They're there. There are 10 red gems in that stage. However, the only way you can get to them is if you deviate from the path of normal blue gems and just guess where they are. You would have to have memorized the pattern because the red gems are not on the normal path to get your bonus points. You just have to know it's below the line at this point, and then you stay below the line, then you go above the line. Yeah, it's pretty rough. I'm sure that there's a speed run of it happening, but they also have lots of ones where you climb to the top of this huge platform tower sort of thing, and you can see red gem right over there. I go, all I have to do, if I jump, go get the gem, I can climb the tower again. Jump, I'm doing full run, and I do the jump, and I still don't go far enough. Gotta climb the tower again if I want to get the gem. At first I thought I could do it, but nah. It is definitely if you've played this game several times, I don't even know what it gets you. I don't know, maybe you get to actually see Genie go to Disneyland. Maybe that's what the secret is. Now, you know what it probably fucking is? It probably, because what it does is at the end of the credits, I'm gonna put up maybe some of, I should have written them down, because it's got, the game was done by Capcom. So yeah. They got...
They did all the Nintendo Disney games.
they still got their like what's it called? Their like screen names in the credits. So you got people like Bun Bun there listed in the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Bun Bun himself was not there, but yeah, lots of seeing the credits go by and it's like, who the fuck are these guys? I might just like post it somewhere, whatever. Maybe I'll insert right here. I'll list them right here. I'm pointing. But yeah, at the end of
wow, look at them. They're all there.
At the end of the credits, it has the multiplier for gems, and mind you cannot use any continues. If you use a continue, you lose all your gems. You cannot use a password. You have to start from the beginning of the game, go to the end of the game, use no continues, and hit all the very difficult to hit gems. So, tell me, I want to know what the cool secrets are. But I think that's about all I got to cover for the game. As far as complaints, not a lot. Really, honestly, I wish the game was like actually a little bit longer because it was a fun game. I would not mind if it didn't follow like the plot of the movie and it was just like a game in as itself that just like I don't know, get some 1001 Nights
series.
Yeah,
get some stuff from the television series.
Yeah, like just have me do some 1001 Nights plots. I'm gonna go steal the things. I'm gonna eat the pomegranate.
So does Torsvik officially recommend that you do a playthrough of The Thief and the Cobbler on the Super Nintendo?
I actually totally pick up this game. This is a pretty good game. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I beat it in 2 hours, so it's not like it takes that much out of your time to experience a pretty solid game. It feels good to give recommendations. It's a good feeling.
How many times have you actually given a recommendation at this point?
I think the number one recommendation has been Afterburner so far.
Mm-hmm. And even still, you were playing the downport of Afterburner.
Well, hey, it is a really good downport. It's a good game in as itself. But I also said play the arcade because it's really bitchin'. I think I said Liberty or Death is pretty alright if you're into that sort of thing. I'm into that sort of thing.
Most people aren't.
Most people are not. I think what does suck about giving the recommendation for this game is I think a lot of people already know that's a good game.
Yeah, it's basically it's basically a classic at this point. So
yeah,
I mean, whoa, step back. Link's to the Past is a good game. I don't know.
I mean, well, the reason why I accepted this one and I didn't pass it up is, one, I've never played it before, and I think a lot of people probably still haven't played it. It's not like I pulled out a Mega Man, a Mario, or a Zelda. I'm like, oh, guess what? Legend of Zelda is good. It's like, I bet you a lot of people have heard that this game is good, but this is me pointing right at you viewers and saying, go play this game because it's good.
This ain't no longer just some shitty like top 10 list you found on a website. You actually experienced it. Now you know.
Yeah.
We got a witness account that yes, the game is in fact good.
Get it in writing. Well, I think that's all I got. You got your thing ready?
Yeah. I've played Bishojo Squeeze
that one out.
Let's try that again. Bishojo Senshi, not Sensi. Senshi, Sailor Moon, Another Story. This one the game came as a surprise to me because I knew about Sailor Moon games on the Super Nintendo, but I only knew it in fighting game form. And if it wasn't like just traditional like one-on-one fighting games, I think the other ones were kind of like the Godzilla or the Power Ranger fighting games, if you know those ones.
Where they're like kind of adventure, but also kind of like fighting games.
Where the emphasis wasn't so much on the like two-player one-on-one. It was more like you played a one-player campaign of things that you fought, like individual enemies, like a fighting game. Sometimes
they would have like a stipulation where you got to beat them with a certain attack or something, or you got to beat two guys in a row. Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever I thought of Sailor Moon games, that's what I always thought. But this one is just like a straight up traditional Japanese RPG with like parties, moves, abilities, random encounters, and all that. So So I was interested in playing it like that. And seeing that it seemed like an appropriate formula for Sailor Moon. So the fact that I hadn't heard that they've done this already kind of caught me off guard. So first things first, this game does not tell you anything. It is in media res as can be. All the sailors are established. They all address themselves by first name, and you don't know which is which if you haven't seen Sailor Moon anime or read the manga.
I know which is which, but that's due to Salties.
But would you know which is which by just their name, or if they were out of costume?
Oh fuck no! I'd only know. I know them by costume because of Salty Vet, but I don't know like their real human names.
Yeah, because they address themselves by their actual name, and they're often out of costume, and they're doing like cinematics or whatever. So so if you don't know that, you're just up shit creek. It's got all the planets in the solar system plus Moon plus Chibi Moon.
When they're out of costume, do they at least keep the same eye color? Because then maybe I could do it.
Yeah, but This one does not tell you anything about it. I thought, hey, it's a video game. They will, handhold you a little bit, just to say, not like a whole bunch, but I was expecting at least a little bit. But no, not only do they not give you any handholding, it's like, when you look it up, it's like straight up has like canonicity between two story arcs, like in the actual thing. So once again, not only do you need to know all the characters, it also takes place in a very specific moment in the series.
So what you're saying though is that there's no spoilers for you though, right?
I guess. Already I would say, as far as recommendations go, there's no reason to play this unless you're already familiar. So, a big knockoff. And I hate when you recommend it. I hate when you ever read a review of a thing based off of a franchise.
Uh-oh.
And they always say, well, if you're a big fan of the series, you'll maybe like this one. It's like, no, fuck off. It has nothing to do with anything.
That falls into my argument about people saying that I like the game because the plot is good. No, just make a good game. I don't care what the thing is based on. If it's going to be Indiana Jones, I like Indiana Jones, but just make a good video game. Please, go on.
Yeah, it's like, I like Indiana Jones movies. That doesn't mean I want to play shitty Indiana Jones games.
Yeah.
I want good Indiana Jones games. So if they're shitty, don't tell me, well, if you're an Indiana Jones fan, you might want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But no, this one, in contrast to that, definitely only play if you're actually familiar with it, because you're not really going to understand anything. They're name dropping like proper names left and right. Specific items and MacGuffins that you don't know about are part of the plot. So it's basically impenetrable, and it's also impenetrable if you are familiar with like the Deke dub, because this is a fan translation off the actual source material. So they're using their Japanese names. They're using all of those terms. They don't call them like just sailors. They're senshi sailors, because that's what they are in the anime and manga. So
they're Saiyajins, not Saiyans.
Yeah. So it's one, if you're already a fan of the series. Two, you're specifically a fan of later subs or translations of the manga, because it doesn't have anything to do with the Deke dubbings. So yeah, that's the major problem. I would say, I know this is as far as like a JRPG, the weird thing to talk about is movement controls in the game, because that's not really the point. But movement controls in this game are really bad. Like, I don't know how many RPG Maker games you've played, Torzvik, but they all suffer from this thing where number one, and this one like bears the same ills that like fan or amateur RPG Maker games have, where number one, your walking animation, whether you're walking or running, is identical. Mm-hmm. So when you're running, the character's like ice skating around, and it looks really weird. And two, it works on a gridded base, but your pixel width it needs to be like, precise for doors and things like that. So you kind of zip around, not really like hitting doors correctly and things like that. Like you'll be like a bit off and you can't enter the door.
Yeah, we were having this problem with Lunar Eternal Blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a good thing that it actually was pretty convenient for me to get this one, and right alongside it, my current obsession of non-Gauntlet games, since I've been playing Dragon Quest VII on the 3DS, which I've been enjoying a lot. And it's a good point of contrast of like, for both of them, like between each other, comparing them, of what to do in JRPGs and like what not to do. Mm-hmm. Number one, Dragon Quest VII, it gets a better break because it's not sprite based, it's 3D based, so the movement's just slightly more in your control. But even still, there's reasons why the Sailor Moon has better movement. Is that with the 3D environment, it makes like because the remake on the 3DS is basically it turned the 2D game from the PlayStation into a 3D game, but it keeps the 2D maps. So things like the square where the downstairs is now a big square. So if you touch a corner of it, you would go downstairs automatically.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, shit. So they kind of have opposite problems where this Sailor Moon game being imprecise means you don't enter the rooms, and while I'm playing the Dragon Quest one, being imprecise means you do enter the room, whether you want to or not. So it's different problems, but I think both of those things are like kind of universal among JRPGs and just kind of movement control issues.
Yeah, usually you don't, like you said, you don't think about that, but it can become really frustrating when you're trying to get into a room and you just keep getting that thump that you're riding your bike and you bump into an object.
And your acceleration goes from 100 to 0 instantly.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's an issue. It feels like an RPG Maker game, like through and through. Which I guess it's kind of, and I know it's kind of weird to say that because it's like RPG Maker games should feel like JRPGs, not the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, this does feel like I'm like playing it and I'm feeling like it's some kind of proprietary engine from like maybe another JRPG that they're using to make this work. Yeah,
you say that? They totally could be, though. They could be using a generic engine that they slapped some sprites onto.
It's possible. I don't know anything about Angel, the developers of this game. I've never heard of them. I don't know anything they've done in the past. But and also on top of the thing sort of feeling imprecise, your character sprite is also just kinda too big in the way it sort of works. So it's like you don't know, it's too big. When you're navigating cities, you don't know whether you can slip between buildings or not and things like that. With like the top-down perspective or whatever.
Yeah, wait, does it do like the sort of Pokemon thing where it gives like a slight 3D perspective to the buildings?
Yeah,
and you can't walk behind them?
Yeah, it's kind of got that issue going on with it. But it's kind of where it's like you can go kind of partially behind them, but not fully behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of games do that where they give a 3D perspective to the buildings, but there's no real 3D perspective. It's still actually top down.
So navigating is weird. This is classic bad JRPG overworld maneuvering, as is what I would call it. Well, let's get into the actual, meat and potatoes of the combat of it. What Sailor Moon does that's unique, that's sort of unique to it, is it has a thing called formation attacks, and what that is all the Sailor Moons, they don't have like a mana count so much as they have like sort of like these representative diamonds. Like they have 10 diamonds, and you can do spells that cost like 2 diamonds or 5 diamonds. So instead of it being sort of like a number crunch of like 100 or whatever, it's just that they're straight up numbers and you have a very limited supply. But at the cost of that is, unlike in other JRPGs where you have the mana supply that's constant throughout, it regenerates every battle. So it's kind of like you get to do between 3 and 7 different spells in one encounter. So you have to choose them wisely.
Okay.
And with that, it has things called combination techniques where, dependent on which sailors are in your party, you can do things where both of them will do their spell at the same time, and it's like a special strong one kind of thing. And it has options of either 2 sailors doing something or 3 sailors doing something. are your two options for the techniques.
Is this like... Okay, is it just that you have more sailors using up their actions, or is it more like a synergy thing where, like, you know, they put their powers together and it forms into like a third different power?
Yeah, it's where they do it together.
Okay.
So while you select Sailor Mars, you go under your known techniques, and you say, I'm going to do the technique where me and Sailor Moon do something at the same time, kind of thing.
Okay. I didn't know if it was just like, you know, we're going to channel our Kamehameha together, or are we going to shoot two different beams together and then it becomes the third beam, which that sounds more like what it is.
Yeah, so, and what it is what's peculiar about it is you're never told what any of these techniques are. You have to find them yourself, but you don't find them through combat. And this was like what drove me nuts was you see like your battle options during the random encounters, and it says like, you know, it has your just regular attack, it has your use your special power, use your double technique, use your triple technique, use items, run away. But every time I try and look up like, I want to see what special like double techniques or triple techniques I can, it would be an empty list. So what it is, it's actually a second menu. You know, you have your like press like, you know, Y button to bring up like the inventory and all that info, but it's you press the start button to get the other menu to build the techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So and what it is so it has, so what it'll do is like you see like a little thing where it has all the different sailors like their little sprites like in a box, and you sort of pick two, like you grab one and then you grab another one, and then you hit like the test button and it says this has a technique, and if it does have a technique then you get it into your roster next time you do a random encounter kind of thing.
That's really weird.
It is weird, and what makes it weirder is, you know, you'd think with something like that, it's like, you know, you're going to earn them over time kind of thing. Like these techniques, like at a certain point in the game, you'll now have the high enough level or skill or whatever to now do the new triple technique or whatever. It doesn't have that. It has a limited supply that's constant throughout the entire game. So basically, once I figured out where this where the technique generator is, I just literally did every single possible combination of sailors and got them all. But the thing, and so at first I thought like, oh, okay, now I'm unstoppable. I now know all the most powerful techniques that were quote unquote hidden. It took me like maybe 15 minutes to find them all just by clicking around, but I got them now. But here's the thing. This thing has, you know, what I think, at least personally, there's maybe points of debate about whether it's good or bad, but this has the thing that I hate the most in any JRPG. It's the thing I complained about a while back that made me dislike like Mother 3 more than Mother 2, is that it's so story-based in who's your party at the moment that you never get that good, nice sense of progression.
Yeah, well, we're both people who complain about that sort of idea. I think it's an RPG, it's a role-playing game. You want to see the characters develop. That's part of the fun. Yeah. And when are you saying, like, do they get switched out and you don't get to really see them at all?
Yeah, you never really get to pick which sailors you have. You always have, like, a maximum of, like, I think 4 or 5. And it's never, like, a matter of, like, you have 6 out of 5 and you can switch one of them out whenever you want kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's always, like, a fixed amount.
It's not even, you know, where you get to choose your favorites and you play with them the whole time. And then you find out that your favorite one sucks.
Like, maybe it becomes like that in Endgame, and I just never got that far. Yeah. But it really felt really railroaded in terms of story throughout what I had played, at least. Mm-hmm. Though as a note, just looking up the game, a full playthrough of this is 17 hours, which is pretty short for a JRPG.
Yeah.
I think I cranked out maybe maybe 5 hours or so. Mm-hmm. And the 5 hours I got in, I think that guy got it in like maybe 3 or 2.
So you probably were looking at like 25?
Yeah, so I probably would have gotten like maybe like a between 20 and 30 hour thing, which even still, that's still kind of short. You usually think like 50 hours is kind of like
between 40 and 80 depending on what it is. Usually not more. If it's more than 80, then it's a really overblown one.
Well, I was gonna say Dragon Quest VII is estimated minimum 100 hours.
Youch!
That's the minimum for Dragon Quest VII.
Dragon Quest is also known for being pretty overblown, though. So Dragon Quest games are known for being huge, and also they can sometimes turn into grind fests.
It's look, hey, it's just more over 20 hours in, and I finally get to pick my classes, and I was super hyped up for it. But yeah, and once again, comparing with Dragon Quest VII, Dragon Quest VII does the character progression thing right.
Oh yeah.
People complain about Dragon Quest, oftentimes being a grind fest. It sometimes is, but you know what? A grind fest on mobile is the right place to put it. Because it's like I get to turn on Lucha Underground and watch Dario Cueto.
Dude,
set up matches with El Drago.
I'm jealous of your Lucha Underground though. I'm sitting over here.
I'm just matching A. You can get season 1. It's all available on torrent, like all together. I'm waiting for them to put together season 2, which finished recently.
Yeah, I thought you were just watching it on the telly.
No, I'm not watching it. It's season 3. It's like season 3 just started on the television.
Yeah.
No, I'm watching it downloaded. But yeah, so it works. And also back to the ability of being able to pick a consistent, stable party that you get to feel the progression. In Dragon Quest VII, it's got party members that leave the party permanently, straight up. But even still, when they're there, you get to feel their full sense of like, here's the character's beginning, here's the character's end. They've left the game. You don't get to play them anymore, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's the character's never going to come back, and that's fine because the character is finished. Their role in the game is done.
Yeah.
So it's not like this where well, what about Sailor Jupiter? I want to play Sailor Jupiter right now, but no, she's doing something else.
Yeah, it's Final Fantasy IV. I think it's 4. The American Final Fantasy 2 does that a whole bunch, where there's character. Hey, I'm gonna be here till the next boss fight. Right after that, I'm gonna fuck off, and I'll see you in a few stages later. When you hit about 30, I'll come back. I'll do till 40 with you. Fucking off. Come back later. No, I hate that shit. Where it's like they just come and go because the game decides you don't need the character that needs that power right now. You need the character that has this power. And like, well then, why don't you just fucking play the game for me if you're gonna give me the right characters with all the right powers as I show up.
So I'll get into that with more specific details. Is in the game's plot of what I could glean at least is that from like in the distant future of like the 30th century, there's like this legion of like basically evil nega duck sailors, and they're traveling back in time to stir shit up, basically take over the world, whatever. Steal the magic crystals, yada yada.
No, please, you need to explain this to me, like, part for part, because I know fuck all about Sailor Moon.
Look,
no, you're the expert now.
No, I made it clear. The Negaduck sailors have come back to time to destroy the good sailors. You know what? There's money behind calling, like, it's not the shadow form, it's not the evil form, it's not the alternate dimension form or whatever. No, it's the Negaduck. But yeah, so and in the course of the plot is they kidnap Chibi Moon or whatever, and you have to go save her. It's they kidnap Chibi Moon and a handful of other sailors, so you can't play those sailors. Fuck you.
Were they my favorite sailors?
Probably. I don't know. So you do that, and yeah, and in the course of it, is after you've saved them all, like they make their like final like attack before they make the getaway, where they critically injure Tuxedo Mask, and you're like, no, Tuxedo Mask, you did nothing. You showed up. So while Tuxedo Mask is sick and needs like healing and needs like magic MacGuffins to cure him of whatever happened to him, like Sailor Moon specifically says, "Let me go with you and let me help." The main character of the game, and then the other characters say, "No, you stay here. You're not in the game right now. We'll be in the game." I'm like, "Oh, okay." My highest level character with the best skills. Yeah, okay. I don't want them anymore. I'm perfectly fine with just having Sailor Moon fuck off for a while.
You know, the character whose name is the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, a big problem, at least just for the Gauntlet, is not being able to get a full sense of perspective of when I get like the sailors back. Because what had happened was, it's three like levels in a row, and they're like full like hour-plus campaigns of you playing as one sailor, only one.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's really rough.
This is Dragon Quest 1 status over here. You don't play the whole game solo.
So it's basically playing those kind of just made me stop wanting to play because they weren't fun, they weren't hard, or here's what it is I'll get into. So I first start up the first of the solo campaigns of one of the sailors. I think it was Sailor Mars, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But so you start it up, and basically what it is all the sailors have dispersed to different points of the globe to find the MacGuffin crystals and stuff. So, and you're there. You're like, okay, I'm in the main town. I'm now I've gone through all the story beats in this town, and it's time to move on. So I walk outside. First enemy encounter, one hit kills me. So I'm like, ah, shit. Well, darn. I guess it was my fault for assuming that what I initially thought the problem was because I was just hitting standard punch attack or whatever. Because I was thinking, okay, since this game is you get a limited amount of spells every encounter, and you never run out. You don't run out of mana the same way you do in another one. So I was thinking, like, okay, what it is the game expects you to always use your special technique, basically in every encounter kind of thing.
Yeah, use that shit up.
Yeah, use that shit up, and then just like if there is anything left over, then just punch him. Mm-hmm. So that's what. So I go back into it, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it this time, and I use my special techniques. Instead of doing like one damage with the punch, it did 8 damage. I got one hit killed by a 60 damage punch. So I'm like, well, the fuck am I supposed to do? This game is literally unplayable at this point. And basically what it is like stats in this game like make the difference. Like when you level up, when I was doing like the first opening part for these solo missions. When I was killing enemies, I would get like 3 experience points, and I would be like, "Huh, that's it." And then I'd get a level up, and it would say like +1 to one of my stats. And I'd be like, well, "That's it." Like stats, like a difference between like a +1 is literally like night and day in this game.
So it's like D&D stats, where if you go from having a 16 strength to a 17 strength. You've just gone from being a buff guy to a monster overnight, sort of thing.
Yeah, so here's what the game wants you to do, is after you've gone through the story beats, go to the store, buy a bracelet that gives you a +1 strength, that in the context of any other JRPG, you'd be like, yeah, maybe why not, what the fuck ever.
It's a slightly better bracelet. I get less armor, but I get the extra damage.
You see the bracelet that says +1 strength, you think to yourself, why am I going to spend 2,000 gold on that when I'm probably going to find a +2 in the next dungeon?
Yeah.
Thing. But no, you basically have to buy those like equipment items and equip them, and then instantly when you do that, it's a cakewalk. Like everything gets 1 2-hit killed. They can't do damage to you anymore, basically. And then after that, like you're finally able to beat your first encounter, and it gives you a level up. Then you're even more unstoppable. Now it's you do one technique and it does basically a party wipe if the other side has 5 enemies on the other side.
Okay, well, concerning always gotta talk about whenever we get RPGs, we gotta talk about how the flow of them works. They obviously did it poorly, but what do you think of the idea of having being able to put on a bracelet and it turns you into more of a monster, where it obviously has a strong stat difference?
My main issue of it is that this doesn't feel like, in an RPG, you're killing small enemies to get stronger, you're gaining your experience, and you're becoming a better fighter. With this, it feels like it's almost like it's railroaded, where it's not how to play the skills of the RPG game mechanics. It's basically, what thing do you need to progress? And it's like, at that point, why not, make a visual novel where instead you or if not a visual novel, like an adventure game where it's you find the key to open the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because now at this point, the RPG fighting is basically pointless.
Yeah.
None of it's a challenge anymore.
Because I like the idea of equipment having obvious effects. I mean, once again, this is way out of the proportion. But I hate buying the bracelet that gives the +1 strength, and it's like, why did I bother buying it? It gives me a +2 to my, 50 damage, and I will never notice that.
Yeah, and back to Dragon Quest VII, basically the way I've been playing it is, I'm not going to buy anything, I'm just going to see how much I can do, and even if it's technically, I'm, handicapping myself, I say that, hey, more challenge for it, make me think smarter when I'm against the boss kind of thing. And so far it's worked out for me pretty well. I've been able to make the reasonable increments by just things I find, or if not things I find, I earn through other means, through the lottery or whatever, the casino it has in the game. So I've been able to make my own reasonable sense of progression without feeling like I had to buy the +1 armor in the next town over kind of thing. Yeah,
as soon as you hit the first shop, you go and you cap everything off that hasn't been capped off.
Yeah, so by me kind of intentionally choosing not to do it, I think I've made the game more interesting at least. But so and this one and for the solo campaigns I played, it's that same formula every single time, and it's just so boring.
Well, let me just say, this is probably something to point out. Anyone who's listening to this that is considering making an RPG, whether this is you're actually programming from the ground up, or you're using just an RPG maker. For the most part, I don't know, you might agree with me on this. When you have a single character in a JRPG, it just doesn't work out, because part of the JRPG is using strategy of buff, debuff.
There's next to no tactics if you're playing solo.
If you're playing solo, you can have those things, but now you've created this super god character that does everything. Why would you have any other characters? He buffs himself, he debuffs the enemies, and all you've done is you've extended the length of every fight to 3 turns, and it's an overall negative to have one character. It should be, whenever you have a single character, it should be limited to a very short section, I feel.
Yeah. Though, as a positive, this does have, just general things of comfort that I don't see enough in JRPGs, and once again with Dragon Quest VII. So when I'm playing Dragon Quest VII and I'm just coming across regular mob, and it's the kind of mob where I can I just mash A to attack and I'll kill them all eventually. I could use the stronger attacks, but why bother? I'm just grinding on through to get to the end.
Yeah.
What this one has, and I want to see more JRPGs do it, is if you just hold down the button, it automatically selects everything.
Oh yeah, that's really nice when you've hit that I'm just trying to move through the section. Yeah.
And what it is what I like about this one specifically, and not like other games where most other games they don't have this. What they have is where you press the auto button, and what the auto button does is it just does the standard bash over the head attack.
Yeah.
But like I said, with this one, even though the once you got those equipment and it buffs you over, you're still using the special attacks, not your regular attacks. So what makes this different from other just hit the auto buttons is when you choose to hold down the button, it's the memory of your last move.
Oh, that's also nice.
Yeah. So for any special attacks or anything, so for the parts I played where I did have a full party, basically I had my setup of character does this, character does that, character does this, and I hold it down, and it does it all. And the thing that, the problem why it's, not as easy to do this in other games is probably because, once again, this game's sort of, magic system where you always have it full at every encounter, but it's a limited amount. So basically, with this one, it's much more reasonable to set up your specific, these are the tactics of what they're going to do in this battle, and they can just play it out for you. Yeah. In another game, if you're to do that, you might, unwittingly waste mana when you shouldn't have, kind of thing.
I mean, something in general just to say is, I take from this that it remembers your previous selections in between fights as well.
Yeah, it does.
Because a lot of games don't do that. They'll remember it, if a single fight lasts multiple turns, it'll remember what you did last. Yeah. But it won't for... Yeah.
So it does remembering, which the only drawback is if you had used an item on one turn, you might accidentally bring up the item menu.
Yeah.
But even still, it's like it's even though it's moving fast through everything, if you're smart enough, you can catch it and you can stop.
I imagine if you were using items, you were on hard times, and you should be paying more attention anyway.
Yeah. So whenever I do that, and what it is it's smart enough to when you are doing that is once it brings up the item menu, it no longer auto selects.
Okay.
So you won't accidentally use your resurrection item twice in a row and waste it or something. Like
someone thought about that shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, so it's like this thing's got like all the dull jank of standard JRPGs that's tedious, you don't like it. But it's just got this one really good ease of comfort thing that that really helps a lot. And more games need to have it or something similar to it. Yeah. And that's basically all there is to say about the game. For the most part, run-of-the-mill JRPG. Like I said, it does some things that are peculiar and different. Techniques, I don't see techniques in that form as often. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you can potentially learn them all within literally the first hour of the game is kind of different. It means there aren't many JRPGs where basically you get all your tactics ready for you to try out.
Yeah.
In that sort of fashion.
You start with some of the best spells in the game and just use them when they're appropriate.
Yeah. But like I said, this comes with the drawback, and it's probably why you're able to just do all your techniques right away like that, is because the game is very linear in who's in your party and when, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Last thing I would say is, I don't know anything about Sailor Moon, but the actual writing itself, when it wasn't doing plot dumps, was actually pretty good. It was really funny. There's this thing, when I was talking about when you have to save Chibi Moon and the handful of other sailors, they're all being the premise of it is the monster that's got them puts them in sort of dreams or whatever, where it's their ideal dreams so they never want to wake up kind of thing. And what it is so, and basically literally every single sailor's dreams is they're with that really cute boy, and the really cute boy bought them that really cute dress. and it is played for the ridiculousness of it. And it's just got general very it's not serious shonen or shoujo action manga or anime or whatever. It's playing itself up for laughs. It's got this the thing that's causing the dreams is this big spooky reaper who's floating over them, and every time you enter one of the classrooms, it's it shows the dream and then you cuts to your sailors fighting the monster. But in one of them, the Reaper ghost isn't paying attention, so instead the sailor just kind of pick up the unconscious dreaming sailor and just kind of carry her out. and you eventually do fight the Reaper when he catches on, but I was really hoping, because it would be a great way to just break up the formula for it if you just skip the fight because he wasn't paying attention. But yeah, so that gag was the gag in the context of the game was 9 out of 10. It could have been 10 out of 10, but it was fine enough. Yeah, so it has some funny writing. It's amusing enough, but all in all, I can't readily say I can recommend it. I won't do the tired if you're a fan of the show, you might like this, because I honestly don't know. I've never seen the show. Maybe you would like it. Maybe you wouldn't. I'll tell you this: it's a very generic JRPG. Does a few neat things, not enough really to justify the full playthrough for me.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think a Sailor Moon fan will really care too much. I mean, it's an in-between arc story. It's probably inconsequential, ultimately, if you're familiar with the manga and anime. It's probably just enough important that you don't actually need to know it.
Well, and what I would say as far as, if it's important in the storyline or not, if it is, you already know the storyline. Why are you bothering with the plot of the game if the gameplay itself isn't good, Yeah. If you know all the plot points, why does the plot matter to you? You should just want a good game with maybe a Sailor Moon theme is the draw point for you. But
yeah.
If the game itself is mediocre at best.
Yeah. On another point of the game's amusing writing is there's an arcade, and the arcade is basically the tutorial section where if you talk to characters, they say if you press A, that brings up what such and such and kind of things like that. And then there's a kid standing next to the little save icon, and when you talk to him, he says, this game is really long, so you should say it frequently.
Yeah, I think to put a real nail in the coffin though for the whole if you're a fan of the series sort of argument
you might like this.
Was it fun for you without the context of the game? If not, like the only reason why that should even be like a concerned argument is if the enjoyment of the game was detracted because like you didn't know the characters. Like I can imagine not enjoying, say, a JoJo fighting game because you walk into it and you're like, who the fuck are these guys? I don't know anyone here. Whereas a JoJo fan might enjoy it both as a fighting game and as a referential thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you walk in and you're like, I have no idea what any of this is, even if it explains it, because I'm pretty sure the JoJo fighting games give like backstories when you look into their profiles if you were interested in finding out. But yeah, it would just be like I don't know what this is. I don't know the source material. Move on. But with something like this, I think everyone has a peripheral knowledge, at least, of Sailor Moon. And I don't think you not knowing their real human names detracted from your fun, really.
No, I mean, not really. It's like, I would be scratching my head as to who's talking to who, but I still got the general, like, generic Sailor plot of, we gotta get the MacGuffin from the evil guy, or whatever. So, the general plot was not, like, difficult to understand. It was, evil sailors from the future, from Negaduck universe, came to the past to fuck things up, so we gotta fuck their things up. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Was it painful to play, at least?
No, it wasn't. It's no Family Dog. It's no RoboCop.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? Sometimes that's all you need to ask for in a Gauntlet game, is that it be playable and you didn't want to fucking kill yourself during it.
Yeah. It was playable, and, once I sort of figured out the only main frustrating hurdle was me not fully understanding that this game's stats are like a difference of 1 makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So once I grasped that, the game became way more simpler, and it was just a matter of, buy the right item or whatever, and now you can actually play the game now. You're now allowed to fight the enemies.
Yeah. Well, are you ready to roll? Are you a roller?
Let's roll.
You a roller?
I'm a roller.
We're doing Genesis, I believe, right?
That's what I think we agreed on, yeah.
All right. Here, give the countdown.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Bubble and Squeak. What'd you get?
I got Scholastics the Magic School Bus.
On Sega Genesis?
On Sega Genesis.
You'll fucking kill me over here. I can't even imagine what that's gonna be, dude. I think I have to make you play that one.
I'm gonna play it.
I know it's gonna be shit. So okay. I typed in Bubble and Squeak. I'm gonna.
Let me see if I can actually find the ROM of it. I don't know if I can.
I'm gonna shoot you a Skype right now. Here's a pic, dude. This is apparently the game I got. I typed in Bubble and Squeak. It's an English food dish.
That's not a video game.
Okay, game. Okay, Bubble and Squeak. Video game. Published for the Amiga? Okay, yeah, it's Sega Genesis. I was making sure I didn't accidentally click Amiga.
I think this is just a down part of the computer. which befuddles me because that thing has full voice acting and animations and so I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I'm fucked.
The only thing you might, I'd say, make a second roll because it might not have an ending, and we do want you playing a game. It might just be actually a just go explore space game and just get information as you go from planet to planet. Let's get your B game here.
One of the B games obviously better. I don't know if I want to roll.
Are you intimidated? Okay, tell you what. If you end up playing Magic School Bus and it's there's literally nothing I can say about this game. We'll do a pickup where you'll just that game didn't work out.
I'll do, when we start the podcast, I'll do a short 10-minute of whatever this game is, and then I'll tell you the new game I rolled.
Yeah. I'm looking at Bubble and Squeak right now. It is one of those super cutesy platformers, which means either it'll be really shitty, or it'll be boss as fuck, and I'll love it.
Okay, looking at some quick video, it does look like it's an actual video game in some capacity. So,
And in the same capacity that Wayne's World is.
Maybe, yeah.
All right.
Oh no, it's got a sliding puzzle. Well, if I'm not getting past that point.
Dude, sliding puzzles take like 30 seconds. I can do them.
But every time I do them, I make the one wrong move that just, keeps compounding upon itself.
Dude, you just make the pieces follow each other.
No, I'll never be able to figure it out. I'm doomed.
Do it layer by layer. It's easy. Oh, okay, wait, well, this is a Sunsoft game. So, whether or not the game itself is good, it'll probably have some really bitchin' music, because Sunsoft tends to have cool music. Like, I think they did, what's it called, like Spy Hunter, I believe they did, is a great example. I think that's all we got, though.
Yep.
That's the last of it.
Right on the magic school bus.
Go home. Go home, everyone. We gotta play some video games.
Carlos!
How can you live with yourself giving such a poor review to Sailor Moon?
They like Sailor Moon at my old school.